So if you follow me on my socials, you might be aware that recently I've been having a bit of a dermatitis debacle. So for the past month or two, I've just been giving foundation a skip, just letting my skin have a moment, just a moment to heal. So today I'm going to be sharing my favorite tips and techniques to achieve a full face of makeup that requires no foundation. And I think this might be helpful if perhaps you too are having a bit of a dermatitis debacle. I feel you, girlfriend. Or maybe you have allergies to foundations, or perhaps you just want to explore a more minimal coverage makeup style. I really hope that you guys enjoy the video. If you do, then be sure to hit subscribe. Let's go. Since this video is all about beautiful natural skin, I'm going to start with some skincare. I believe it's called Cosmetics 27. It's a brand that originates in Paris, and their cult product is called the Baume 27. And it's super thick, so they recommend that you can mix it with the Essence 27, which is a hydrating fluid. I'm going to pop those two together. Oh, so good. I'll report back after I've finished the deluxe samples and let you know my final thoughts on that skincare, but so far so good. I've also popped on a bit of the Bite Beauty Agave lip mask. Incredible. It's up there with my Laneige lip sleeping mask. These two lip balms, life. In all skin-centric tutorials, I stress the importance of SPF. Next to, I think, thorough cleansing, SPF is the single best thing that you can do for your skin. And the skin is such a complex organ that I can't predict what SPF is going to work for you or what SPF is going to break you out, but I personally know that my skin tolerates physical SPF very well. Specifically the Dermalogica Skinperfect. I've spoken about this product so many times. But essentially it's a SPF with a primer consistency. So you get that protection, but also it smooths out any texture and pores. And who doesn't want that? Who doesn't want smoother skin? I want smoother skin. Also, this is going to create the right canvas for your bronzer, blush, highlight, whatever you choose to add on. Because if you've ever tried to blend like a powder bronzer on bare skin, you'll find that it kind of wants to go quite patchy and it doesn't last all day. And that's because bare skin, it just doesn't hold powder products very well. So it's either something like a silicone-based product like this one, or even a tacky moisturizer will just give your makeup something to stick to. So we've popped on our beautiful skincare and then SPF to protect the skin. Now I'm looking for a product that is going to perfect my skin without adding any coverage. What does that mean, Karima? Very cryptic, I know. I want a product that is going to make me look dewy and luminous and make my skin look less tired and deflect any shadowy areas and also blur imperfections. Now, I'm aware that this is a tall ask, but I have two products here that deliver on those claims. The By Terry Cellular Rose Brightening CC Serum comes in a whole bunch of shades, and also the Charlotte Tilbury Flawless Filter also comes in a whole bunch of shades depending on your skin tone. I think the By Terry would probably be better suited to combo or oily skin types because it does deliver that luminosity, but it's not shiny. It's more like a satiny kind of luminosity, really refined and beautiful. Today I'm going to be using the Hollywood Flawless Filter by Charlotte Tilbury. This one is a little bit more glossy and shiny, so good for those of us who have dry skin types, or you know, even if you have an oilier skin type but you embrace that glossy life, it's for you. So you can apply these products all over if that's your jam, but I tend to kind of focus on the high points and then roughly blend it out, nothing too precise. I've kind of noticed this cycle within myself, and I'm sure many of you can relate. I kind of slowly, without realizing it, kind of wear more and more coverage makeup. And it takes something like a dermatitis debacle or like a holiday where I don't wear any makeup for me to kind of step back and reassess, like, how much coverage do I actually need? I think so many of the images in media, wider media, you know, show an airbrushed skin look that we almost forget that, you know, skin texture and skin pores, they are normal, they are natural. As a matter of fact, they're just, you can't avoid them. Like, this is what skin looks like. All that said, if you feel more polished or put together or confident with a bit of coverage, then we can absolutely do that. We can use strategic concealing to give the illusion of a more even complexion without having to go and do the whole foundation thing. So I think the thing that most faces benefit from is a little bit of concealer under the eyes. To clarify, most faces over the age of 20. If you're under the age of 20, then enjoy it while it lasts. I'm kidding. But I'm going to pop on a little bit of under eye concealer here. I'm just going to add a tiny dot here and then blend that out with a finger. If I'm not wearing foundation, then I tend to opt for a bit of a sheerer concealer. Like for example, I love me some Tarte Shape Tape, but I probably wouldn't use it for this purpose because it's too matte and too high coverage, and I feel like you can kind of see where the concealer ends and where the skin begins. It just kind of looks a bit stark on an otherwise bare face. I would also say maybe avoid going too light in shade, because otherwise you're going to have this kind of reverse panda effect, and then you'll have to add concealer to other parts of the face to balance out that highlight. I think a concealer that closely matches your skin tone or perhaps half a shade lighter is ideal. So you might want to stop there. But let's say you have larger areas of pigmentation or redness. Like I tend to get quite red around the central portions of my face. I've just got like a high color complexion. So what I'm going to do is take a little bit of that concealer on the back of my hand. And I'm actually going to mix in a drop of oil here. This bit is totally optional, but my skin issues as of late have been of the dry and flaky variety. And I find that a drop of oil just stops the makeup from settling and cracking and looking kind of awkward. So I'm going to take a little bit of that concealer on my fingertips. This is a little bit messy, but the outcome is worth it, I say. So I'm going to rub that between my fingertips, and then I'm going to kind of do a little bit of a pitter-patter, which is the technical term, by the way, pitter-patter technique. Just lightly go over areas where I'm a little bit red. And I used to do that thing where I just take the concealer wand and swipe it around my face and blend it out. But I always felt like I could see the makeup, like it wasn't perfectly melting into the skin, whereas the pitter-patter technique really meshes everything beautifully. So now we've kind of corrected larger areas of pigmentation or redness, and you can stop here, or you can do a little bit of spot concealing, which means taking a high coverage concealer, Kevyn Aucoin Sensual Skin Enhancer is the best, and doing some kind of really detailed pinpoint concealing. Let's say if you have like a large blemish or this mark on your head where 2 minutes before filming you walk straight into a cupboard door. If you want to hear about my spot concealing techniques in depth, then I will link that video in the description down below. But yeah, if I was creating like an editorial shot with really beautiful, perfect, natural looking skin, then I could spend all day spot concealing. But for the context of like a day-to-day sort of thing, I would conceal maybe an angry blemish or a little scar like this and just call it a day. I've got some little marks and redness kind of bits here, but you know what, I'm okay with it. They can stay. To powder or not to powder? That is the question. So from the perspective of longevity, there's no real need to powder because we don't need to like lock all the makeup in because there's just not that much makeup going on. If you are oily and you don't like looking shiny, then by all means powder away. If you are experiencing eczema or dermatitis like I am, I would say keep powder to the bare minimum because it can get crusty pretty quick. This is my new powder obsession, the Urban Decay Velvetizer. I had it in my drawer for ages, and the other day I was like, I should try you. Amazing. It is super duper fine, so much so that I think half of it goes into the air. But it's comprised mostly of silica and dimethicone, which are my two favorite things, so it's no surprise that I love this. I'm just going to take that through the tear trails that I've got here, because that'll kind of make them a little bit less pronounced. Maybe just on the side of the nose. But again, wherever you don't like looking shiny, you pop some powder there. Onto your bronzer, blush, highlight, contour, whatever you like to wear. I think if you're opting for cream products, it's really straightforward here. You just blend them straight onto bare skin and they adhere quite nicely. But when I mentioned on Instagram that I had been embracing this no foundation face, I got a lot of questions that said, how do I layer powder bronzers and powder blushes over bare skin? Because it is tricky. I totally agree with you. They do have the tendency to go a bit patchy and just not apply as well as if you were wearing foundation that had been lightly powdered, everything just perfect. So my first tip would be to say, get yourself a bigger brush than you would typically use for that purpose, and make sure that it's loosely packed, so not dense. When you have a brush that's really densely packed, it picks up a lot of product and it deposits a lot of product, and that's where things I think can kind of get a little bit patchy. I'm going to be using the Nabla Cosmetics powders. They're really beautiful. So I'm going to take my brush into my bronzer, and then I'm actually going to use my wrist or the back of my hand to better distribute the product through the bristles. You'll often see me do this in my tutorials, like I start tapping things on my wrist. I'm trying to get the powder better distributed through the brush so that I get an more even application. And then I would say minimize the swirling and go with a little bit of a pat. Pat, 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 pat. That helps again to minimize patchiness. But it's also worth noting that SPF primer that I used earlier is helping these powders to adhere more evenly. So the canvas is obviously very important. I'm already pretty rosy, but for you guys, just for you, I will apply a bit of blush. This is also by Nabla, and I'm using the same brush, which again is bigger probably than you're used to for blush, but it will make life a lot easier as you're going to apply it. So get that powder distributed evenly through the brush and pat. Pat, 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 pat. Pretty. Also, while we're here, I see a beautiful looking contour shade, so I'm going to dab into that. Dust away most of the product. A little bit of cheekbone never hurt anybody. Let's do a little bit of powder highlight, obviously. Well, would it be a Karima tutorial if there wasn't some sort of highlight? So pretty. This is by Mecca Cosmetica, the Enlightened powder, Rose Gold Dreams, and the best highlight brush of all time, full stop, is the Chikuhodo Z2, which is a candlestick brush. Again, to minimize mistakes, I'm just going to brush off most of the product, really, and then take over the tops of the cheekbones. So let's say you're having issues with your powder products not just adhering but really lasting all day when used on a bare face. I would totally recommend using a setting spray. Those film formers will really keep that makeup locked in place. I'm going to use this one by Mecca Cosmetica. I love it, but it smells like iodine. Iodine, what the hell? That'll also help settle any powders so that they really mesh into the skin, and it looks like perhaps you're not wearing any makeup at all. So that is our foundation-free full face, so to speak. In terms of like brows, eyes, lips, what do we wear? So obviously there's no rules, and I say wear whatever makes you happy and what makes you feel beautiful. That's my motto. But I do find that with my no foundation face, I tend to pair it with quite pared back eyes and maybe like a soft balmy lip. And that's because I find, at least with my high color complexion, the more eyeshadow I put on, the more color I put on my lips, the more it kind of brings out the surface redness in my face. I feel like almost like I need to go back and put on a little bit more coverage. There are people like Jay Kisser, for example. She wears beautiful, amazing, bright eyeshadow and bold lips with no foundation at all, and she looks incredible. I think because I have that surface redness, I don't pull it off quite as well. So you can kind of experiment on your own face and determine in which camp you sit. I'm going to take that contour shade that I used earlier and just sort of dust that through the socket. Little bit of definition through the socket I think is really beneficial for an eye shape like mine. Bit of a heavy eyelid, semi-hooded eye. And you could do a bit of an inner tear duct highlight and maybe some brown or black eyeliner in the tight line to bring more definition to the eyes. But as you can see, I currently have lash extensions. I love lash extensions. If I didn't do what I do here on YouTube, I would have lash extensions year round. I got them because I went to traveling to Tasmania, which was amazing. And it's just so nice to like roll out of bed and feel put together. Also, when I had my lash extensions done, I got henna brows. So henna brows is kind of, it's kind of like brow tinting, except the product actually tints the skin. So they shape your brows beautifully and then you don't have to fill them in for a few weeks. Such a great service. But if you are not in Sydney or the henna brows are out of your budget, I want to show you a product. The Maybelline Tattoo Brow Gel Tint. So this is one of those peel off products. You apply it, leave it on for 20 minutes and then peel it off, and it tints the skin for a few days. So it's obviously it's not as long lasting as the professional henna brows, but if you enjoy a little bit of DIY, I was so impressed with that product. Just want to throw that out there. If I have an extra moment, I really like to do this trick. I'll take a liquid liner, either brown or black, doesn't matter, and I'll add a few dots at the base of my lower lash line. So once you add the mascara, you don't see those dots on the lower lash line. It just makes the lower lashes look more prominent. I think it's a pretty good trick. And seeing as my henna brows are still going strong, I'm going to just brush my hairs up with a clear brow gel to get those bushy, fluffy, editorial brow vibes, because that's my aesthetic. So as I said, I've been wearing this no foundation face with more of a balmy lip color. So first I'm going to do a little bit of Boots No. 7 lip liner in nude, one of my faves. Just because I have quite a naturally blurry lip line, I find lip liner really makes quite a big difference for me. And one of my favorite lip colors as of late, man, Tom Ford. This is a Solar Affair and it's Coral Dreams. Isn't that delightful? I love it. Like that to me is like the perfect face brightening lip color. Solar Affair, I love you. I really hope that you guys enjoyed this tutorial. I know, this is not a revolutionary face of makeup. These are not revolutionary ideas. But since my personal experience of not wearing foundation over the past month or two now, I kind of had a lot to say about it, and I thought that this might make for an interesting video. So if you did like it, then let me know in the comment section down below. I love chatting with you guys in the comments. Come say hello to me on Instagram at Karima McKimmie, and I hope you're having a wonderful day, and I will speak to you all very soon.